Now that you've decided to get good at the strategies that will help develop your test-taking superpowers, the next step to learn is how the strategies will work best for you. No two piano players play exactly the same way, and for that matter, no two basketball players, no two rocket scientists, no two writers, no two dancers, no two carpenters. No two cooks do things exactly the same way, and they shouldn't. The great performers in any field do things the way that works best for them. That is how to use your test strategies. The most important thing you can do to turn your strategies into the tools that will work best for you is something called dedicated practice. Dedicated practice is not the same thing as simply practicing. If you're just practicing, you might just be doing something over and over. But in dedicated practice, you're practicing getting something right. Humans have always worked this way. When our early ancestors were learning to use bows and arrows, the ones who got good were not necessarily the ones who practiced the most shots. The ones who got good were the ones who paid attention to how to hit the bullseye. They were letting their brains solve a puzzle. We once heard a story about how the basketball player Kobe Bryant practiced. He took shots until he hit 800 of them. He didn't take 800 shots and quit. He practiced until he got 800 shots right. He was letting his brain solve a puzzle. Now, if you're a test taker instead of an archer or a basketball player, that means giving your brain a chance to learn how to solve the puzzles the test makers set out. Solving puzzles like this is like the brain's workout. Give it lots of puzzles to solve, and you'll turn your brain into a stronger test taker. For example, when getting ready for the reading comprehension section, dedicated practice means not just learning to read better, but turning yourself into a reading comp surgeon who knows how to use test strategies to help answer the most questions in the shortest amount of time and pick up the most points. Or how about this math problem? How would you try to solve this one? Go ahead. We'll wait. A rookie test taker rushing through a test might see a question like this and panic. It seems like there could be a ton of possible answers. But a grizzled veteran test taker who has solved a lot of these puzzles knows that the test makers couldn't give you a problem that's impossible to solve in a minute or less. A grizzled veteran test taker would know just to get started and experiment by making a list of possible answers. Now that last one is too big, which means that our list is done. We found all of the possible solutions, and so we have our answer. Tests get much easier and go much more quickly with dedicated practice and lots of experience with solving the test maker's puzzles. Nice work. Or here's a sentence a lot like one we ran into when we were first experimenting with test strategies. See anything wrong with this one? Go ahead. We'll wait. That sentence didn't sound too bad to us. It may not be Shakespeare, but people talk like that all the time. But the test makers, and probably most English teachers, would tell you that this is written in what they call a passive voice. In the passive voice, if mistakes were made, then no one's really responsible, right? The form that they consider active, and therefore proper, would be to say not that mistakes were made, but to take responsibility and say that I made a mistake. You might not even always agree with what they think is a better way of writing. But for now, practice with dedication means solving the puzzle of what the test makers want. It's sort of like when you're sitting at a tea party and you're supposed to extend your pinky when you hold the teacup. Or maybe you're not supposed to. Either way, it doesn't make the tea taste any better. It's just the way things are done. And on any test, you want to learn beforehand how they think things should be done. The test makers would probably also be a lot happier if you didn't use the passive "was eaten by my dog." It almost sounds like the dog did it by accident. Maybe your homework fell into his mouth while he was chewing or something. In the active voice, which will make the test makers much more happy, the dog takes responsibility with, "The dog ate my homework." So now, after all of your dedicated practice, if you ran into a problem like this on the test, what would you say the best answer is? That's what we thought too. Think of someone trying to learn a new language. If that person idly repeats the new words from that language that the teacher is saying, but pays no attention to how to get the words right, the language is not going to get in very quickly, right? Now, what if that same person was desperate to know what was being said on a TV show that was broadcast in that language? That person's goal is now not just to pass the time repeating words without investing any attention, but to understand by solving a puzzle. That is deliberate practice. Grizzled veteran test takers who are practicing for a test with dedication don't get frustrated when they pick a wrong answer. Instead, they think of test questions as a puzzle to be solved. Give your brain a chance to practice solving these puzzles over and over, and the puzzles get easier. Spend enough time solving the test maker's puzzles, and brains will soon speak the language of the test fluently. Nice work.